All right. Well, I'm officially going live at 6 o'clock sharp, give or take a minute or two. Just realized that I was supposed to go live at 5:55 because we're trying a whole bunch of new things. Too many new things at once. I can only handle one new thing at a time. So here I am. We're going to start trying to go live. Somebody says Andy's about as artistic as I am. Guys, Andy's actually a really good artist. He just made this one intentionally, I'm told, intentionally bad. He said he did try to make it bad to catch your attention. He made it hot pink. I don't think that's going to be the color of my channel because pink's not really my thing. This is, in fact, Liz Cast IRL. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm sorry I didn't start it 5 minutes early like I was supposed to, but now we're going to get rolling. I don't know if you guys saw my picture on Twitter, but Dip was absolutely occupying my desk space. I want to show you this picture of him because he is just so delightful. We absolutely love him, and he's a gem, but he's also very much in the way. So here he is. He's signing a portrait. You guys really have to see this because Dip's the most artistic cat I've ever seen. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, you should be at Sour Patch Lids. That's everything. And this is him practicing his signature so he can send pictures to people who super chat. And I forget what the parameters are Andy made for that, but we do want to send people pictures of Dip that are signed by him. And I was thinking at first that it would be his paw print, but now I think that he might actually be able to sign them. So this is what he was doing instead of allowing me to research some of the stuff we want to talk about tonight. So really, we're just going to be hanging out and chatting. It's just going to be a super chill Friday night. It is January 6th, so happy Insurrection Day to those who celebrate. I personally decided that I wanted to take a stroll through a publicly accessible space like a library. Let me see if I can find the tweet that I made. I just thought it was really funny. I think that it's a bunch of nonsense what they're saying about January 6th today. And personally, I think that January 6th was such a good sign that the government is afraid of the American people. And I personally think that's a good thing. But here's the kind of joke tweet that I made about Insurrection Day. Happy Insurrection Day to those who celebrate. 2 exclamation points. Personally, I will be breaking into my local publicly accessible space like a library and taking a walking tour, possibly mildly harassing a security guard and generally looking as shady as I can. With that said, it remains a travesty that the January 6th protesters are still in prison. I actually cannot believe conservative lawmakers have done nothing for these ridiculously detained tourists. And I really can't. It's actually a really big scandal that they're still in jail. Totally and completely unfair. Hopefully that is something that ends this year. I think that I'm not really holding out any hope. I really don't feel like the Republicans are in any way fighting for us at this point. I feel like they're just kind of, in it to win it and then sit around and do nothing. I feel like they're not actually accountable to the people like they should be. If you disagree with me, let me know. Let me pull up my chat here so I can see what you guys are seeing. Dip didn't want you researching this stuff because he's too afraid your blood pressure might go up too much. Yeah, I think that's a healthy response to have to this January 6th stuff. $33.33 super chat. Is that what Andy said? Awesome. Okay, so we're looking for our first $33 super chat, $33.33 if you so desire. I think that would be really great, and that will be our first signed portrait that Dip does, and I think we will have him sign it with his claws and his mouth because he does love pens and he likes to steal them from me, and apparently he also likes to draw with them. So that's really fun to know. As you guys all know, 6 people did not, in fact, die on January 6th. As far as I know, 1 person died, and she was a protester who was shot in the neck by Capitol Police, and that was the only thing that truly disturbed me about the January 6th riots. I didn't really like that it was happening. It made me kind of uncomfortable, but at the same time, I do think it's important for governments to know that they are accountable to the people above all else. And yes, I did see that Ashley Babbitt's mother was arrested for jaywalking at a protest over her daughter's death. Frankly, I would be doing a lot more if it was my daughter that was killed on January 6th, but thankfully It wasn't my daughter. And my heart really goes out to this mom. There is no excuse to kill someone who was demonstrating their First Amendment right to assemble and protest. This is the essence of free speech. This is the essence of gathering with people like you. And it's no joke, but yes, it is our responsibility to keep them in check, as the lectern guy says. The lectern guy is actually Adam Johnson. He was on Timcast IRL, and he frequently comments on my Instagram, and we like his style. He's a funny guy. It was really a shame what they did to him too, for sure. Andy says, first $40 super chat gets a lock of Dip's fur. That's really, I don't know if that's right. He's a short hair, and I don't think he has enough fur to spare, but if Andy says, I'm sure that we can find a way to make it happen. We're going to be selling parts of Dip for super chats. No, we're not doing it. All right, let's see here. Someone needs to make a meme spoofing Easter's Resurrection Day for Insurrection Day. Ha ha ha. So when oh crap, I can't remember what the word was, but there's like help, I'm being repressed. And I think there was Twitter employees were saying help, I'm like being monitored or something, but it sounded like repressed, and Andy made a meme about that. I think that's great. Hopefully he can make us a meme. I bet he has a meme for us by the time we're done with this chat tonight. We hired a graphic designer. Okay, I'm being modest. It's me, says Andy. Oh, thank you, dear. I do appreciate your thumbnail. My sinuses are killing me today. Really? Today was one of our first snows. I'm genuinely surprised that you're having allergic reactions. Maybe it's indoor air. I really recommend an air purifier and then also a humidifier, because it might be the fact that it's so dry. That's really the issue. Okay, so that's enough levity and lightheartedness. We're going to look up a horrible thread that I really wasn't excited to see, but I think that we need to talk about it, and I think we need to talk about some of the rhetoric around the vaccination and all of this COVID nonsense. And I don't really mind if I get demonetized. I think this is an important conversation that we need to have. So, and I also will preface this by saying that I don't really like his tone on this thread, but I think that it needs to be examined. So we're going to unpack it. I don't like the idea. That's a really old Monty Python reference. I'm being oppressed. Help, I'm being impressed. The violence is inherent in the system. Yes, correct. I don't remember what word it was, but he was mocking Twitter employees, saying they were being like, I forget. Oh my gosh, babe, I can't remember the word. Help, remind me. All right, we're going to start looking at this more serious thing, and hopefully we have some levity to look back on as we go on. Let's see here. E. Souza has a thread, a collection of people who have wished for death, jail, made fun of, called crazy, or simply pushed the vax on the unvaccinated, and now they are all dead. So here we have Doug Brignol. This is a bodybuilder and fitness author. Doug Brignol has passed away at 63 years old. He looks super fit. I'm actually really surprised I remember this one. I have enough confidence in the vaccine based on my research to get it done. Those of you who think the vaccine kills people can use me as a test. If I die, you were right. If I don't die and have no ill effects, you were wrong and should admit it, at least to yourselves. Better yet, you should admit that you were misled and tell the world who misled you so other people can benefit by avoiding those fearmongers. Frankly, I feel like what he said was really not unfair. It just was so darkly ironic that he said this right before he ended up dying. And from what I can tell, he ended up dying from COVID vaccine-related illnesses, which really sucks because look at this young, fit guy. And he really wasn't very old, but I guess technically he was within the age range that could have been most affected by COVID. I don't know. Sad, man. I feel like the mood on this thread is going to be really hard, and I feel like some people view it as triumphant. I do not. I don't think this is nice. This is not a good thing. I don't wish death on the people who wish death on people like me. I think that's fair. So here we have Uchi Nwanera, the observant linebacker. I think he's a linebacker. Okay, so let's get these vaccine mandates and vaccine passports up and running ASAP. We're seeing children die daily from the unvaccinated selfishness. Pregnant women are at risk too. Protect life, mandate the vaccine. Jail anyone who refuses to protect life. All right. So here we have former Jaguars guard Uchi Nwanera, dead at age 38 after he was found unresponsive in his wife's Indiana home last week. Authorities tell us the preliminary cause is acute heart failure. That is too young, and I am sad about that. Julie Powell, I would argue that COVID does kill some of the right people. The anti-vaxxers / maskers are dying in legions, but yes, it's a real shame about Kavanaugh. That is a disgustingly bitchy tweet. Julie Powell, best-selling author of Julia and Julie, dead at 49. That is too young too. All of these people died too young. I'm sorry, and you might think that they're bad people for wishing this kind of stuff, but that's sad, man. I don't like it. I've had my COVID vaccine. Rainbow. Thank you, NHS. That's his frame. Lee Mallinson says, second dose of the Oxford AZ vaccine done. No side effects with the first. However, if I get anything with the second, bring cake. Huh. Jeez. Lee Mallinson, the head coach of the Reading Swim Club in Reading, England, has died. He was 51 years old. The cause of death is unknown. He just died suddenly. Don't know why. He was only 51. But he didn't really wish for illness and death on people. He just was kind of gloating about his vaccine. And it is, again, sad. I'm going to say this with every single person. It is sad that this person died. I value human life, and it doesn't matter if they were bitchy in this life or not. We can just leave all the justice up to God. Grant Wall. Few things like being I do want to talk about him. Few things like being at a major tournament when the host country gets a huge win. Oh, to be vaccinated and out in Copenhagen tonight. American journalist Grant Wall, 48, dies after collapsing at the Qatar World Cup. I don't believe that he was a victim of the COVID vaccine side effects. I actually think that he might have been. He is an interesting study because he was openly wearing his rainbow flag shirt in Qatar, and they blocked him, I believe, from reporting or from going into either the airport or the stadium. And then he wound up dying, and it was actually kind of strange. So there was concern that it could have been like a Putin's opponent type thing, a polonium type incident, falling from the third story window type thing. Really kind of interesting, and I will say that there is confusion about this one, and we don't know exactly what happened. And again, he's not really pressuring people that much to get the vaccine. Liam Coward. Ooh, what a last name. Hot take. If you decline Moderna and are waiting for Pfizer, you are a piece of garbage. Oh, okay. Take the effing vaccine if you are able to get. There are billions of people on this earth. What choice do you think those in developing nations would make? Okay, Liam. Prove to us that you're not a coward. St. Catherine's social justice advocate dies suddenly on December 31st. A strong advocate for LGBTQ2+ rights in the Niagara region reportedly died suddenly on New Year's Eve. Liam Coward was 27 years old. Holy cow. Holy cow. That is, wow. That's too young. I don't care. And that was kind of a bitchy thing of him to say, but again, man, that sucks. I don't know, man. Just had my booster jab. Definitely does not come with a boost of energy. It's a killer. Hope you're okay soon, mate. Thanks, mate. To be fair, feel better already. Yes, but how's your 5G reception? That's hilarious. I heard Bill Gates whispering in my ear earlier. See, again, this doesn't strike me as trying to shame people who are worried about vaccines. This is just him kind of bragging, humble bragging that he got the shot. And 48 years old, he died in his sleep. He had an aortic aneurysm. I knew this was going to be depressing and kind of sad. Here he is joking about his 5G reception. I think it's hilarious. Poor guy. Poor guy. I feel bad for each one of these people. Maxi Jazz. Come on, people. We got to get over this shit. Go get your jab. All right. He's trying to encourage people to get it. This guy looks a little bit older. Let's see how old he is. Maxi Jazz, born in 1957. We are heartbroken to share that Maxi died peacefully in his sleep last night. Sending love to all of you who shared our musical journey. Look after each other. Oh, yikes. He looks like he might not have been in the best health, and he was a little bit older, but jeez, man. Okay, let's see if I can read this. As our national vaccine drive ramps up, I urge everyone eligible to register and get vaccinated. Encourage others around you to follow suit. The vaccines are safe, effective, and essential. All right, let's see how safe they are. Oh, Motor Vice Chairman Vikram Kirloskar dies due to heart attack, but we don't have his age. That's too bad. Again, I feel like this is kind of broad. I feel like these people weren't actually shaming everybody, and not all of them certainly were wishing death on people who were worried about the vaccine. Pro-vax UK radio host excited about third jab, hospitalized with lungs full of blood clots. Oh, geez. I'm really excited about the fact that I can get around another jab fairly soon. So all you anti-vaxxers, all you idiots, all you nutters who go on trolling me, you know what you can do? You can get the vaccine. Ooh, wow, I wouldn't wish that vaccine that did that to him on anybody. For those that won't get the shot for selfish reasons, whatever, I won't cry a tear at your funeral. So Rob looked medial. Cardiologist who mocked the unvaccinated suddenly dies in his sleep after his third COVID jab. Okay, so it appears that the third one is the charm for some of these people. Brief intermission. Thank you for standing 10 toes through all this evil wickedness they threw at us. Never forget. Oh, jeez. All right, this one hurt my heart because her daughter lost her life. Protect your children. To all of you who believe your Facebook and YouTube research justifying your beliefs that vaccines are evil, keep researching and you'll find essential oils, cleanses, and prayer groups that'll negate all adverse side effects. Vaccine research, anti-vaccine mom research, and it's a lady on the toilet. Richmond girl, hockey player remembered by the community. Danielle May Cabana, 6, passed away last week. Oh my gosh, this is our youngest one so far, and this just breaks my heart because she wasn't even the one saying this. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway. All right. Boom. Done. What it is. You can hold out as long as you want, but you won't have much freedom. I'm over it. I did it. Does that make me a sheep? No. I have asthma and I'm an uncle to some awesome little kids. You don't like it. You know what to do. All right. Well, let's see if we know what to do, Jake. Jake passed away on October 2nd at the age of 28. He is survived by his wife, his father, his mother, his in-laws, his siblings, his sister-in-law. Oh my gosh, that's very, very, very sad. I wish that people didn't feel such a need to virtue signal about this, because if they do end up dying after they get this vaccine, then it just looks bad for them and it makes other people even more reticent to get it. So again, this just breaks my heart. I don't like any of this stuff. Here we have Jake Flint, fully vaxxed to the max and ready to make tracks to Halifax or wherever else. Oh, nice rhyming. Key West, preferably. Here's his vaccination card. Good for him. Look at this. Oh. Oklahoma Red Dirt singer-songwriter Jake Flint, 37, dies just hours after his wedding. That's the worst possible time to die. That's soul-crushing. Oh my gosh, his poor widow. Okay, and he wasn't calling out anybody who didn't want to get vaccinated. He was just, again, kind of bragging about his vaccine. That is too bad, but he looks like he might not have been in the best shape. Oh my gosh, this is soul crushing. Okay.
Double vaxxed, booster, flu shot, and I'm going to be honest, I have the shingle shot too. And I still get my period.
That's kind of surprising to me because she's young enough. The doctor told me that I could not get the shingle shot. I was too young. So it surprises me that she was able to get it. I'm not sure why. I wonder if she had it because I did. Unless she is just really well preserved and she's like 55 or 60 or something.
What? Yes!
So annoying.
Traveled, went to Mexico twice, did shows, meet and greets. Never got COVID. Clearly, Jesus loves me the most. Seriously. So nice. So nice. Double vaxxed.
I don't know if you guys remember that, but she said Jesus loves me the most, and then she passed out like she was struck by a bolt of lightning. And I found that case kind of creepy because she literally was just like, bring it on, God. And God was like, all right. Goodbye. I don't think she ended up dying. Let's see. Heather McDonald handled an onstage collapse and skull fracture exactly as one would imagine from a comedian with a healthy dose of humor. Yeah, okay. That was a really interesting case study because I was like, does she believe in God now? I wonder, because that's a really interesting thing to happen right after she said that. I would definitely be taking precautions after that. What is Andy promising here in the super chats? First $100 super chat gets a lifetime subscription over at the new sourpatchlids.me. I don't know what he's doing over there, but it's going to be good. So anyway, that was Heather McDonald, apparently not repentant for what she did or said.
Fairgrounds.
Let's see what Gilbert Gottfried is saying. I don't know this guy.
Fairgrounds.
So you know you have to do it. You have to get vaccinated. No kidding. This one's a matter of life or death.
Okay, in his defense, this guy's kind of old. And I wonder if he was maybe on the verge of dying already, or he might not have even died at all. Let's see what happened to him. Gottfried, oh yeah, comedian Gilbert Gottfried had died. Yeah, so he's relatively older. I'm being as generous as I can because I don't want to chalk everything up to, vaccine injury. I don't think that's the case. I think that for older people, there's a greater risk of COVID, and there's also probably a greater risk of having issues with the vaccine. So poor guy, sad, old still. I don't blame him for saying what he said, especially for these older people. I really felt like they were the people that we should be protecting the most, and possibly even the only people that should be entitled to the vaccines. Oh boy, okay, here's one. Let me be clear, I do not give an F what happens to anti-vaxxers. I don't let Darwin do his work. They helped to kill 700,000 Americans. I do not have the pity or tears to spare for any of them. It's just all dried up now. Sorry, at this point, I'm just hoping they feel one-tenth of the pain they've caused everyone else. The kids will be fine. They're going to suffer, and I effing well think they've earned it. Let's see what happened to Richard. Yeah, I'm mostly here for personal ego. Already had COVID last year, so not worried about catching it, but I wanted to maintain my smug sense of moral and intellectual superiority while making fun of Darwin's anti-vaxxer. It's actually pretty noble, really. Oh, you think so? Congressional candidate Richard Rowe unexpectedly dies after bragging about vaccination status on social media and making fun of Darwin anti-vaxxers. I don't know how to feel about some of this, because the people who literally say that they're being smug and accusing people who have questions about it of being ridiculous, like Darwin anti-vaxxers. Hey, thank you, lectern guy. Oh, that might be Adam. Oh my gosh, is that Adam Johnson? Oh my gosh, we love you. Hey, how's it going? My wife thinks you're amazing. I'm very happy to hear that. He's our first $100 super chat. I do not know at this point in time what an unlimited subscription to sourpatchlids.me is going to entail, but you are going to find out, Mr. Lectern guy, and it's going to be good. All right, let's see here.
Get your COVID vaccine today. I want to know if it's Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer, whatever you decide. Get your COVID vaccine.
All right, let's see. Brandy Norwood is recovering in an LA hospital after suffering a seizure, TMZ has learned. So, in instances like this, I always want to know, for example, did they have a seizure condition? Or was this something that they'd never seen before? Because I have heard stories of people coming up with like seizure disorders after they get the vaccine. And I wonder if it will ever actually be linked to the vaccine or not. Maybe this lady had something like epilepsy beforehand. I wish I could look her up right now, but we won't. We have a few other stories to get to, so we won't spend too long on this. But this is quite the thread. This is really interesting. Gave myself a very special birthday gift today. I got vaccinated. Okay, good for you. Good for you. If that's what you wanted to do, if you made the very personal choice to get vaccinated and you thought this was the right choice for you, I personally don't have any issue with that. I think that's fine. But let's see. She did die. Oh, that sucks. Flashdance and Fame singer Irene Cara dies suddenly at 63. So she was, again, closer to that age range that's more at risk of COVID and also apparently of COVID vaccine side effects. I don't know what this is. Here's a lady. She's holding Pfizer BioNTech COVID vaccine. Unvaxxed Australia, the 36-year-old self-proclaimed queen of the vaccine, Sarah Beth Hartledge, died suddenly last week. Dr. Sarah Beth Hartledge urged people to take COVID vaccines, urged them online, in person, and in briefings with Louisville's mayor. She tweeted a picture of herself opening a box of mRNA jabs and said she'd had a little visit from the Pfizer fairy. She was thrilled when regulators authorized shots for 5-year-olds and disappointed when Pfizer postpones its application for 6 months old. So, this is the only instance in which I would say it feels a little karmic for this lady who wanted this shot for children to have passed away. Again, very sad. Every human life has intrinsic worth. But if you are making steps that are making it mandatory for children and infants to get this vaccine, As far as I'm concerned, that's almost unforgivable. Almost as unforgivable as forcing your very small child, who is not at risk for COVID, and we know this, to wear a mask. I digress. Feeling a little salty about that one. All right. Richard Sloan Jones, please take me off the wait list. I was able to get a vaccine at Walgreens. Thank you. All right. Everyone, please remember the family of Richard Sloan Jones in your prayer. He passed away unexpectedly yesterday. We'll share service details when available. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know what his situation was or how old he was. I always like to know how old they were. He looks like he was probably about 55 to 60. It's not a big deal. If you want to tell everybody that you've got the COVID vaccine, I think that's perfectly fine. In fact, I think that if you want to get the vaccine, you should know the risks and then you should act accordingly. If you're trying to pressure other people to do it, I do have an issue with it. And if you're wishing death on other people who have hesitancies about it, I think you have some serious explaining to do. If you end up dying, you will have to make your explanations to God. Arizona Cardinals have reached 100% vaccination status. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that sucks. Fully vaccinated NFL megastar J.J. Watt says his heart went into AFib this week, had to be shocked into rhythm. In my experience with AFib, it is a thing that sometimes happens to younger people, but it is not common in young people. AFib isn't immediately life-threatening, but it can increase your risk for blood clots significantly because you're not pumping blood like you should. So it ends up pooling where it shouldn't be, and then it's just not good. I've watched a lot of AFib rhythms. I've watched a lot of conversions. Your heart can sometimes convert naturally into and out of AFib. It's really interesting. I don't fully understand all the mechanisms. All I know is what I used to watch on the screen for 12 hours a day, and it is highly irregular. There's no P wave. It's not even going to make sense to you guys, but there's no, like, you know how the heart rhythm is divided into orderly, like P wave? There's a big bump and then there's the little bumps. That's the very scientific explanation. In AFib, you have none of that. It's very disordered. Your heart is not really pumping to its full capacity, and it's basically like vibrating. But it's not as serious as when your ventricles are involved. When you have ventricle fibrillation, then you're basically dead. But as long as your ventricles are still pumping a little bit in kind of a rhythm, you can live with AFib, but it's not good, and it's not common in young people. This thread just goes on and on. Oh, 48 years old. She's in Spanish. Okay. I don't like watching people get shots. Like, I have to give myself injections, and today I had to do labs, so I had to give blood as such, and I don't like that either. I don't like any of that stuff. I really don't like watching it. Tristan Thompson on having COVID-19. That ish was no joke. I'm definitely going to be getting the vaccine as soon as I can get it. Tristan Thompson's mom, Andrea, suddenly died from a heart attack. Oh, it's too bad. But again, we also don't know if she was vaccinated, and she looks like she's likely overweight, which significantly increases your risk of death from that kind of thing, and for death from COVID, which is something that we started to see early on in the pandemic. Tampa Bay Bucks coach Bruce Arians says entire organization is vaccinated against COVID-19. He was hospitalized for 4 days with severe chest pains, diagnosed with myocarditis. Yeah, see, this combination of this age range looks like about 60, 65. Not good with the vaccine, and it's hard to tell. They will tell you that this is like long COVID stuff. Yeah, but I don't like these comments. You just be collecting receipts, laughing, crying, laughing. I don't like it. I don't like this mindset. I don't think it's good. Here's one comment that I don't oppose. This thread should be a learning tool. Blind faith in the system will do you in. I just don't like glee. I will never rejoice over someone dying, like pretty much anyone. I think the only time I would be pleased that the last time I was pleased that someone died was when Qasem Soleimani died, because he had done so much damage to American troops. I had a serious issue with him and his legacy. So let's see what you guys are saying. I see we got our first $100 super chat. Thank you so much. Just in case you get demonetized, keep the truth coming, says Greg Duvier. Thank you so much, Greg. Appreciate it. AK Storm 49 says, do you think that these same people would feel the same way about the unvaxxed dying? I feel horrible for them, but can there be unity with them? It doesn't matter. They're dead or very seriously injured, especially that poor little 6-year-old girl. I'm sure getting the COVID vaccine was not her fault. If she did in fact get it, that's a terrible thing. I think that we should hold on to our humanity. I think that it doesn't matter what other people do. I really think that it doesn't. And I think that's something we need to stand by firmly. I don't think we can allow that to creep into our lexicon, because we need to be different and we need to be better than they are. And that doesn't mean we need to lose the fights, but it means that we need to preserve our sense of wonder and awe and appreciation for human life. So I don't think that we should ever glory in this kind of death. Whistle's funeral dirge. Yeah, man, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah. Yes, the lectern guy, $100. My wife thinks you're amazing. I think it's so funny that I was referencing you without even realizing it was you talking to me. St. Miles says, tourist wins the gift. Not sure what that's in relation to. He's chatting at Andy. Keenan Smith wins second place contest over. Gonna listen to the rest of the show and start cooking dinner. Aloha. Aloha indeed, good sir. Have fun with that, St. Miles. We appreciate your presence in the chats. I am. Yes, I'm similarly confused. Yeah, did his vaccine give her a heart attack? Yeah, that'd be a pretty strong vaccine if it did. I don't think so at all. Yeah, some of these were like a little touch and go. I didn't appreciate exactly looping them in with this other stuff, and I don't like that kind of karmic feeling of triumphant. Oh, you and Andy should do a cooking stream a day or two of every month. That would be really fun. And Dip could be all getting in the way and we'd have to wipe everything down constantly. That would be fun. Let me get my kitchen in order and we'll see what we can do. Right now we're getting lights installed under the cabinets, which I love. So yes, we did just get a sushi kit. Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Let's figure out how to make sushi rice and then we can talk about having a cooking stream. How does that sound? All right, we're going to take a quick glance at this. Before we move on, I just found it kind of interesting. In honor of January 6th, says Libs of TikTok, here are some insane images of the absolute destruction and chaos. Just kidding. This is from when BLM burned down our country for 6 months. 42 people died in these riots, and it shows. It was crazy. Over $1 billion worth of property damage, an insurmountable amount. And tons of individual human life. There was I remember this is burned into my brain. There was a person who died in a fire started by some of these riots, who later had to be identified by dental records because they were so thoroughly incinerated. And I think of that every time I see people defending Black Lives Matter. I can't do it. It's just horrifying. Yeah, here we are. My favorite shot from the Black Lives Matter riots was a sign outside of a church that said, Black Lives Matter, we stand with you, or whatever. And the church was on fire. And you know that it was in the middle of those riots. So even in the midst of all their virtue signaling, it wasn't enough to spare their property. And speaking of karma, I just think that's honestly the right thing to happen to them, because I see no problem with that. Yeah, these pictures are indeed mostly peaceful. This is the real insurrection that nobody wants to talk about. Let's see, what do we have next? Oh boy, also from Libs of TikTok. California school district facilitating gender transitions on children without parental consent. Documents obtained through a recent FOIA request reveal that a California school district partnered with a healthcare facility to provide children with gender transition hormones and surgeries without parental consent. The school district, DJUSD, and Communicare are providing these services under the guise of mental health program for K-12 students. According to Communicare's website, they offer cross-sex hormone medications like testosterone, estradiol, and spironolactone, letters for medical clearance to undergo transitional surgeries, and assistance with legal name and gender documents. Holy moly, I knew that California was bad, but they might actually be the physical manifestation of Hades at this point, and I don't say that because they're hot. although they are. There is a reason that people believe in hell. There's a reason that hell is a religious idea. And it's because a lot of times we don't see justice for this kind of behavior in this life. So people who have strong religious convictions need to feel some sense of closure when it comes to all of this stuff. Because it's very hard to handle for people who aren't religious to look at this and say, oh, it'll be okay. It's no big deal. These people are never going to face justice, just like the people who were involved in the BLM riots are never going to face justice, even though they were responsible for the deaths of tons of people. So we have to hang on to the idea of hell, and we have to leave the idea of judgment to God. And I know that's a really tough pill to swallow, but it's really important. I think, yes, somebody says hell. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I think that California is probably the closest we will be to kind of peeking into hell, because they are opening all the gates. They are removing all of the standards that we built our civilization on. And it's just, I feel like it's going to backfire on them, but I'm not sure how. I hope that people who are forced into transitions or convinced to transition sue the living daylights out of them, out of the state that facilitated this, out of every doctor who went ahead with this. I find myself hoping, okay, here's what I hope. I wish that for every dollar that a doctor earns from doing a gender transition surgery on a person that they knew didn't needed it, or who was convinced to transition by conniving adults, I hope that they end up paying back $100,000 in reparations of a sort after they've been sued. I think that would be fair. I think that would be right. You can only ruin people's lives so much. And I know there's a lot that you can't make up for with money, but I think that sounds like it would be fair. As far as some kind of justice, you can't reclaim your life. You can't reclaim your ability to have kids if you are sterilized by these horrible people, but you can at least destroy them financially. And I think that would be ultimately fair to the people who try to do this stuff. Let's see here. Oh, Red Bike Master says, big win for gun rights. Just announced 5th Circuit just passed. ATF has no authority to determine what is criminal, only Congress. Oh, interesting. I will have to look into this. That's great news. Happy to hear that. Yesterday was payday. Thank you for your super chat. I appreciate it. Supposedly the spike proteins can be transferred by body fluid exchange, says AK Storm 49. Please fact check, but it sounds terrifying. That is terrifying. Goodness gracious. I don't like that. Somebody says $100,000, $1 million. Yeah, I think so. Either way, you know what I mean? That's like the general gist. If you are monetizing this, you deserve to have your livelihood destroyed. And I mean that sincerely. If you are taking advantage of children who are not of the age of majority to change their gender just so you can make a quick buck, nah, man, you deserve to be destroyed financially, of course. I would never wish for anything else. Let's see what else we have. Oh my gosh, I am so excited about this. Adam Kinzinger is on CNN now. Woo! I know. CNN said they were going to try to be more moderate. They're not. I can't decide if they know that this is a bad idea or what. Let me see if he got ratioed on this one, because Viva Frei was having none of it. Okay, he didn't get ratioed. But I think CNN might have. Let's see. Will you be paying Adam Kinzinger per tier? Oh no, so close. Oh well. Well, it certainly generated a lot of attention for CNN. So I don't know if that's what they were going for. They certainly got what they wished for. Maybe they will get the viewership that they want. But if they thought that bringing on this so-called Republican was going to bring more right-leaning audiences to them, totally wrong. Totally misjudged. I don't know how they could be so dumb, especially since their whole job is to keep an eye on the news and current events and who's a player in it. Big fail. No good. We're doing kind of a Friday roundup here. We're just kind of running through this interesting stuff. Ooh, this was sad. Washington, D.C. is the loneliest city in the U.S., while Fontana, California, is the least lonely, the Chamber of Commerce data reveals, as 36 million Americans are recorded as living alone. Guys, I know that you might be watching this because you are lonely. I'm very sorry if that's the case. Andy and I are trying to put together a business that helps us build community where we are. And what we're going to do, part of what we're going to hope to try to do, is create a meeting space where people can meet up to have book clubs, game nights, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Just normal basic stuff that people used to do that we apparently don't know how to do anymore. I don't know why exactly we forgot this. Excuse me, I think that's not working for me. But for some reason, we forgot that we can have friends in the real world. And I blame that fully on social media. Let's see what this article has to say. Oh man, the loneliest cities in the U.S. Washington, D.C., St. Louis, Missouri, Alexandria, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, Cincinnati, Ohio. So a lot of these are on the eastern seaboard, which really makes me wonder why. These are very left-leaning cities. I don't know about St. Louis. I personally love Missouri. I think that it's a hidden gem that I hope stays a secret forever. It's a beautiful state. But at the same time, New Jersey is also a beautiful state that's utterly ruined by the government of the state. Very, very sad. It doesn't surprise me that Washington, D.C. is so lonely. It is so isolated. There is a feeling in that city that's just heavy, and I don't know how to explain it. It's really, really hard to say because it's super historical. It has a very interesting history. There's a lot of really neat architecture. There's like all these museums and stuff, but the feeling in that city is oppressive. Maybe it's just my view of the city itself, but I definitely got a vibe when I would go to DC that was just like, I don't like this. I don't want to be here. I didn't like the traffic. It was very hard to navigate. That was hard enough as it was. But there was also a sense of like deep loss. And I really don't exactly know how to put it into words. Maybe that's what people are living with. Maybe other people sense that too, and it makes them feel very lonely. You would think it would be like kind of convivial party, because we've made our politicians into something of celebrities. But I don't know what it is about it. I feel like it's like, there's been a lot of talk about demonic involvement lately, and I think that DC would certainly be the heart of whatever that is going on over there. I have no idea what's going on beyond that. The city of Fontana, shown here, is the least loneliest place in America to live. That is a beautiful place. Wow. I'd be curious why. Maybe it's like quality of life is better? I don't know what's going on there. Fascinating. Well, maybe we should read the article. This one is a lonely place to live too. St. Louis, I guess. For rent sign. All right, who cares about renting? I think it's just that people are living alone. I think you could also definitely blame this on the demise of marriage in the U.S. The conclusions were drawn from the census of data of over 170 cities with populations of over 150,000. The loneliness measures were based upon how many households in the city had just one occupant. Oh, okay. So it's based on how many people were living on their own. Okay, so it just means that maybe people don't have roommates or family members with them at the time. This doesn't mean that you're not lonely. Like, I felt super lonely in my past marriage, and it wasn't because I was alone. It was because there was a disconnect, like an emotional, spiritual disconnect with the people in my life. Thankfully, that's all gone now, and it doesn't really matter whether I'm alone or with my partner. It's a good place to be mentally and spiritually. The fastest rising city for male loneliness was Fort Collins, Colorado, which saw a 14.2 increase in men living alone over the last year. The Rocky Mountain State's capital, Denver, comes in at 27 on the list. That I don't know what to do with that information because I've been in Fort Collins. It's a cute little city. It's relatively left-leaning because it is a college town, but that kind of surprises me that male loneliness is higher there. Interesting. The city seeing the biggest rise in female loneliness is Gilbert, Arizona, which saw an increase of 18% between 2021 and 2022. In 2022, the average age for marriage for men was 30. For women, it was 28. Of the 10 least lonely cities in America, 9 are in California. The list is topped by Fontana, Oxnard, Moreno Valley, and Elk Grove. I would be willing to bet that loneliness is not a thing in California because people can't afford to live alone. That's just my 2 cents. The fact roommates are nearly a necessity in California, where rents are a third highest in the country behind only Hawaii and New York, could have factored into the study's results. Exactly. I'm a genius. The only city outside of California that is among the least lonely is Garland, Texas. on the outskirts of Dallas-Fort Worth area. Interesting. Yeah, and here we see the average rent in Manhattan. I was looking at the rent in Canada because of all those people who are taking the Canadian way out, so to speak. And all of them, a lot of them are saying that it is because life is just too expensive. And in Canada, it costs something like an average of $2,000 a month for rent. Holy moly. In Manhattan, $5,000 a month for rent. Literally can't imagine living in a city like Manhattan. What is the point? Yeah, see there you can see the average US rent is almost $2,000. It's almost as high as it is in Canada. That is wild. Let's see if they have a summary here. A 2022 Time Out survey found that the loneliest cities were Stockholm, Sweden, followed by Copenhagen in Denmark and Sydney, Australia. While in 2021, Harvard Graduate Schools of Education study of 950 Americans found that 61% aged 18 to 25 said they felt loneliness. The number among other age groups averaged out to about 30%. Okay, so I think that this study is a little bit slanted because it's just looking at people who don't have like roommates or family that they live with. I think a better study would have been like this Harvard study, I think it is. Yeah, Harvard Graduate School of Education study. And they were actually talking to people and asking them if they felt lonely. I hope that my presence helps you guys feel maybe a little bit less lonely. It makes you feel like you've got a friend, because I consider all of you guys my friends. And I think that the internet in some ways is very helpful for helping us not feel so lonely. But at the same time, it can be a little bit of a crutch where we're just like, oh, I'm just going to distract myself so that I'm not thinking about this anymore, instead of actually going out and making friends so that we actually aren't lonely. I don't know how to solve this problem. I digress. I'm sorry that people are lonely and wish that everybody had tons of friends. I know that's not always possible, but I like the idea of opening up our home a little bit and trying to make it a place where people can meet and hang out, share food, maybe have a Bible study, maybe have a game night, watch movies together. I think that would be a really neat example to set so that people can kind of gather together in person. I think that's an important thing to take into account when you're figuring out how to live your life. Manhattan rents are insane, 100%. I agree, DC is depressing. I can see the demonic, sad angle of the place. Yeah, 100%. In Stockholm, Sweden has a Stockholm syndrome of loneliness. I think that's exactly it. First $50 super chat gets a 30-minute Zoom call with Liz. What are you promising over there, Andrew? What's going on? I will happily Zoom call with anybody. That sounds like fun. Fear Me, it's Bree, recommended you on our Daily Wire Friends group chat. Oh, awesome. I didn't realize you had a Daily Wire's Friends group chat. That sounds like fun. Supposedly, the spike proteins can be transferred by body. Oh, yeah, we read that one before. Oh, cool. Daily Wire Friends group chat. Sounds cool. I am part of a chat on Telegram that's really interesting with current events. I have a great time with that one for sure. All right, let me close this one. We'll move on. Hop right on to the next thing. I thought this was great. This is really interesting, and I'm curious what you guys think of this because it is in a vaccine format. I personally can't say that vaccines are a horrible idea because I know that some vaccines are very important for young children. Whooping cough is lethal for young kids under a certain age, and I think the vaccine for them is very important. Stuff like tetanus, we don't have a cure for, so I think that the vaccine is very important in that regard. Certain vaccines, tried, tested, fully widespread and stuff like that is very important. And I think some of these medications, there's no other way to make sure that you don't get this. There's actual, immune issues you can develop if you do get the actual disease instead of the vaccine. So I can firmly recommend a lot of this stuff. I myself had shingles, so I can't recommend that illness itself either. I wish that everybody could get vaccinated for it, but I also know that not everybody can. Anyway, I digress. Scientists develop a vaccine that destroys and prevents untreatable brain cancer that killed Beau Biden and John McCain. A new glioblastoma treatment uses living cancer cells to reduce tumors. Cells are removed, modified, and returned to induce a strong immune response. The cell therapy method, so far tested only in mice, produced promising results. That is really interesting. So let's read about this. 1. Living brain cancer cells are removed from the patient. Yuck. Cancer cells are repurposed into tumor killers using CRISPR technology. Oh. Killer cancer cells travel back to the tumor site, inducing an immune response, and the tumor shrinks. That is so interesting. I find this stuff really fascinating. This is part of the reason that I was in school for, I was going to be a surgical tech. I was considering going into, nursing and research. I thought all of this stuff was really neat. Oh, this is sad. Woman's pins and needles turned out to be a fatal brain tumor. Lydia Carfrey Brohaska, 34, at first thought the tingling in her arms and legs was pins and needles. After visiting her doctors, once symptoms worsened, she was given only 12 to 18 months to live. That is so sad. I am really optimistic about this vaccine. I hope that's a really neat technology, and I hope that we can use it for other cancers. My dad had esophageal cancer, which has a 93% mortality rate. Thankfully, his esophageal cancer grew around the outside of his esophagus, so it was constricting it, whereas usually it grows up and down along the sides of the esophagus. Thank goodness that it grew that way, because it drew his attention to it. He had a hard time swallowing. Like, he literally had a hard time getting stuff to go down. So he thought it was really weird. He actually did go to the doctor, and they were like, "You have cancer." Crazy treatments transpired, and he ended up surviving. Thank goodness. If there was a vaccine that they could have used to treat this, that would have been really cool. Like, wow, that's a really neat cancer technology breakthrough. So I will be keeping my eye on that going forward. All right, now we're going to talk about Florida, because I like Florida. Good times. Mad Hatter, Manhattan. She called you Andrew. You're in trouble, Andy. Yeah, I don't know what he's promising over there. What's going on? Let him go crazy in the chat. Rabies vax is invaluable. Yes, it is. CRISPR is the bomb. Yeah, I need to learn more about it. Diversity dollars. DeSantis crackdown on inclusion and CRT spending at Florida colleges to expose the millions wasted on clandestine sector of diversicrats. Probes elsewhere suggests. Interesting. Governor DeSantis orders Florida public colleges to reveal diversity spending. At North Carolina, Ohio, and Michigan schools, diversity hires cost millions. University of Michigan diversicrats alone earn $18 million each year. Oh my gosh. MU even has a full-time diversity staffer in its arboretum. Isn't an arboretum for plants? What the heck? We're going to look this up now. Okay, all right. Come on now. Oh, I don't want to know about a staffer. I want to know about arboretum. Come on, man. It's because I have a Mac now. Arboretums. A botanical garden devoted to trees. Yeah, what the actual heck? That's nonsense. Critics slam a box-ticking exercises that does little to help minority students. Others bash DeSantis for undercutting freedom to run DEI programs. No, absolutely not. If you are getting money from the state, you don't get a say in what the state wants from you. I'm sorry. You're willing to accept their dollars, you're going to accept their restrictions. That's actually the case with any kind of state programming. If you accept socialized medicine and you expect the state to take care of you, then you can't really make a big stink when they say, "Oh my gosh, you know what? It's a little too expensive to treat you. Are you sure you don't want to, commit suicide?" I don't like it, but it's one of the things that comes along with giving so much of the control over to the government. And I think the Florida government should stop funding these colleges altogether. Full stop. Maybe they will. We will keep an eye on this for sure. Let's see what else is going on in Florida. DeSantis refuses to back down from Disney fight as bill is introduced to replace entertainment giant's self-governing power with state-run board and force it to pay more than $700 million in unsecured debt. Oh, wow. He is really taking it right to Disney. Disney World's self-governing power in Florida could be replaced with a state-run board under radical plans backed by Governor Ron DeSantis. Yes! The overhaul would also force the company to pay $700 million in unsecured debt they said $700 million, and they also use the dollar sign. So is it $700 million? Okay, I'm done being pedantic. In unsecured debt that might otherwise have been paid by taxpayers. DeSantis launched an effort to upend Disney's self-governing powers after the company's former CEO criticized Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. The bill bans teaching of sex and gender issues in state schools. That is not correct. Thank you, Daily Mail, for your summary, but this is too brief. That is not what it does. Plan for a state-run board means Disney will no longer control its own government, DeSantis spokesman says. Wonderful. perfect, great, doesn't go far enough. I think Ron DeSantis is on the right track, but I wish he were more of a hardline conservative. I know he's got to do what he's got to do, and he needs to make sure that his constituents are, taken care of, whatever. But I wish that he would strip it outright and give them the option to either stop being woke or leave the state. I think that would be the right approach. But he probably wants to walk the fine line and see if he can get them to make some compromises. So we will see how this pans out. All right, let's see here. Oh yeah, I read my Insurrection Day thing already. That's a good time. Make sure you leave out your gifts for you have to leave out vegan food for the buffalo horn hat guy. That was a good time. Keenan was getting too wild and crazy. Good times. Happy January 6th. May the government always fear the people. 100%. I completely agree. Andy says, everyone gather around the J6 poll and air your grievances. Get your buffalo horns ready. Don't forget to pick up a lectern and move it a few feet. Yes, shout out to Adam, the lectern guy Johnson. Don't forget to pick up your lectern. Just move it a few feet. Happy Insurrection Day. Take plenty of photos and videos. Recall riot at the Capitol, the FBI treason and plot. Yep. I think you could just as easily call it something like Ray Epps Day. I'm going to light my Ray Epps candle while I weep for our democracy. Good idea. Isn't July 4th technically Insurrection Day, given how we didn't actually gain our independence for years after that? Oh, maybe. That's a good question. Should find the local copy of Genderqueer in the kids section and show it to the first parent you see. That would cause an insurrection. Norm McDonald says, I loved when the violent terrorists made sure to respect the velvet ropes in Statuary Hall. 100%. Someone says, if we're being honest here, you'll have to beat up a few officers. Some officers were beaten and injured. That's, I think, correct. However, I said it'll just be me. If I were going with cantankerous old people, then there might be a tussle or two. Still nothing that warrants jail for 2 years. And I still 100% believe that. Happy Fictional Insurrection Day. I think it really, really did happen. They really do think it was an insurrection. They're wrong. I wish that they weren't wrong. I wish that people had been more forcible. But at the same time, I'm glad that the people reminded the government who they are actually accountable. Make sure to open your presents from Buffalo Guy. I always leave out vegan food for him, I responded. Anyway, today's stream has been fun. It's been very easygoing, thanks to Dip making it so that I couldn't research stories. It was also a relatively light news day. You may notice that I'm kind of staying away from the whole Speaker of the House thing because I don't care. I don't care at all. And I wanted to say that Wake Up Waverly gets an honorable mention for his little video that he made of Dip, and I'm probably going to show you guys that on Monday because I wasn't able to get it onto my computer in time. I refuse to log into Instagram on this computer. I have a hard time remembering my password, and it's just annoying. And unfortunately, you can't really sign in, or you can't really do anything with Instagram unless you're signed in. But he made an awesome video. You guys should go over there and check it out. Wake Up Waverly on Instagram, I believe. I've skipped every podcast this week that talked about the Speaker of the House election. 100%. It's so tiresome. Usually I find Ben Shapiro really informative and interesting, and lately I've just been like, oh my gosh, dude, find another topic. At least Matt Walsh has still been talking about cultural stuff and stuff that applies to everybody. I tweeted about Andrew Tate earlier today, and I got Tate bros who were giving me a hard time, but I forestalled them by stating what I believed was their initial argument was going to be. I know what their argument's going to be. It shocks me that they consider themselves top G when they can't even go toe to toe with a silly little lady. Here's what I said about Andrew Tate, and then I'll probably close. See if you guys agree with me on this one, or if you guys are going to set me straight. Part of the reason I get so frustrated with Andrew Tate is that I know there's a dearth of male role models, to the point that anyone can come along and say vaguely masculine positive things and be roundly well received. We need actual male role models espousing true masculinity. You know what I didn't say was who should be your male role model, because I'm not in a position to tell anybody who their role model should be. I headed off their argument, first one at the past, by saying the following: blah, 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 you're a woman. No one cares what you think. Because I've heard this. I've heard this. I have cared about men's issues pretty much the entire time that I've been conscious of politics. So that would be like going on 20 years, right at 20 years. So since I was 11. I said, I have brothers, in-laws, nephews, male cousins, and of course my husband. I've cared deeply about male issues for a majority of my life, even when dudes insult me and mock me for being a woman and caring about what happens to them. It has always kind of bothered me that you would lash out at somebody who is arguing in your favor. If there was a guy who was getting out there and saying things like, hey, you know what? Trad girls are pretty cool. You should probably be trying to marry one of them. I'd be like, yeah, man, you tell them, because guys are more likely to listen to you than they are to me. Maybe it's an issue of guys not generally liking any kind of input on their lifestyle choices. I think that's fair. Fine, whatever. I also said, I care every bit as much about women's issues. I really realize that there's also a dearth of feminine role models for women to look up to. Every part of society is being undermined. This makes me angry and sad, and I'm going to help change it. So far, the only analysis I've had of Andrew Tate has been 1, skepticism of his ideas, and 2, mild irritation that his fanboys call me things like lying, bad word, just for commenting on his arrest and clarifying that he's innocent until proven guilty. Now, it doesn't make sense to me either. And then I rather snarkily retarded because this kind of retorted, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that word, retorted, because it does kind of irritate me that guys get so defensive when you say, hey, I see that something's wrong. I'm sorry. Here's an idea for not following this particular role model. Top G's gotta do better than an argument I already preempted to compete with this dumb little female. So they kept throwing at me, hey, you know what? I'm not going to listen to you. You're a woman. Who says that you have a right to say anything to me? Well, I just happen to care about guys' issues, and you don't have to take it personally if you don't want to. And you don't have to take it to heart. You could completely ignore me altogether, but you feel the need to comment and tell me that I'm wrong and it's stupid because I'm just a lady. And I think that's just as close-minded as anything that Andrew Tate espouses. So, oh well, I'll probably be fighting with that forever, but I really do care about guys' issues. I care about my brothers. I watched what happened to my brothers. My brothers have been through some hard times, and I think that they deserve every bit as much defense as female issues. And you know what? Why can't I remember his name? Scott Adams. Oh my gosh. Made the point earlier today. If we found out that vaccines were negatively affecting women ages 18 to 30, do you think there would still be a push to vaccinate like there is now? And the answer is obviously no. I think that there's clearly there's cultural bias in favor of women. And I know that it's partly because women are capable of producing more humans. That's fine. That's one thing. But feminism is such a force and such an underlayment now in our culture that it means that we're very biased towards women. And I don't like that any more than any guys do, I should say. But I almost feel like I can't say that because there is stigma against like trying to be on the side of guys, and it's very interesting. It's a weird place to be because you'll be called pick me by men and women for trying to do something positive for men at all in any way, and you'll be called try hard. You'll be called apparently a lying W word, which was an interesting experience. And you'll be called, you'll be dismissed out of hand when you're really just trying to demonstrate that you empathize and that you think that guys deserve better. Because I do. I think that guys deserve better. I wish that guys had strong male role models that were really good examples for them and who would walk through some of the hard parts of life with them. And Andrew Tate isn't that. I'm sorry. I wish that he were, but unfortunately he's not. And it's kind of like a raccoon fighting over trash with an opossum. It's like you realize that you're fighting over trash, right? But apparently this is really what they want. So I digress on that point. Hopefully this is something that can culturally change. And I hope that people will kind of wake up to the fact that what Andrew Tate is pushing is not, he brushes up against truth. I've mentioned this before. He does. I know, and I respect that, and I think that he makes some really good points, but at the same time, I don't think that he's the role model that people wish he was. So I will close with that. It's a little bit of a downer, but we've been all over the place today. We've been up and down. We've been at the height of hilarity and in the depths of the doldrums because of that sad thread about people dying after the vaccine. So I will leave you on that roller coaster of emotions. Let me read your super chats real fast. Supposedly spike protein. Fear me, it's Bree. Thank you, Bree. Appreciate that. Oh my gosh, the first $50 super chat. Carter got mad when I did a contest for a lock of his hair because he's afraid of voodoo, says Andy. I don't know if that's true. I'm going to have to ask him about that. Carter does have cool hair. It's true. It's very important. Yes, DeSantis hired Chris Rufo. Good stuff. Really good stuff. I can't help feeling that Florida is doing everything right. I feel like even if you don't like conservatives, you should be happy that we're going to have a case study of like a conservative state and then liberal states. And then you can see who's better run. You can see whose economy is better. You can see, which state people want to move to and all that stuff. I'm just saying, right now, everybody wants to move to Florida. So all your dark blue states are losing occupants like Massachusetts, New York, California. They're all moving to other places. Let's read on. I think I have one more super chat. Thank you all so much for engaging this evening. I had a good time. Had a great time with Andy cheerleading for me. It's a good time. No employee should ever expect any form of privacy on a supplied device. This is Andy's cybersecurity PSA for the night. No employee should ever expect privacy on any supplied device, which I think is also a great case for removing TikTok from all federal phones. Like, why the fill in the blank was TikTok and on any of these phones? TikTok is a free time app, not a work time app. What the heck? Wake Up Waverly, maybe we should hire you to do our promotional videos. I love that idea. I thought that's awesome. Part of the reason I want my own truck again so badly, I never have, says Red Bike Master. Yeah, 100%. I think that privacy is a vanishingly rare commodity, unfortunately. Today is also Epiphany. We can't forget that, even though it is January 6th, Insurrection Day. Dun, dun, dun. Finally able to tune in, loving the show. Oh, I'm glad you could join us. You guys will have to let me know what you think of this rapid fire type exchange, because I can't decide if I want to do longer segments or shorter segments. I had a really fun time with the shorter segments tonight, although I've now officially gone long, and hope you guys did too. I think that might mix it up like this. Maybe on Friday nights we'll have a short little burst, and that'll be great. $500 super chats gets naming rights for the new Sour Patch Kids studio. Woo, that's an interesting idea. Good times. That would be really neat. A $500 super chat would be incredible. I like the lighthearted short segments. Kept requesting the DJ to play the same song. What do you call the Terminator? Cybersecurity. I thought Pick Me was more like I'm so special, Pick Me. Yeah, so Pick Me, from my understanding, just the implication that I got was a lady who is like, oh, I'm one of, I'm special. The guys all like me. Yeah, it's kind of hard to pin down. You know what? Let's Urban Dictionary that son of a gun. Urban Dictionary. Pick me. Okay, let me show you guys. Pick me is a woman that is willing to do anything for male approval. Yeah, there it is. She'll embarrass or throw women under the bus to achieve this goal. The unfortunate thing about a pick-me is usually the men they are trying to seek approval from are of poor quality and treat women badly, leaving any real benefit for the pick-me. Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. The type of person who constantly begs for attention and approval and has to make everything about themselves will do anything to get attention and approval, including bringing other people down, embarrassing herself for attention, anyone, annoying wannabe who will literally go to any lengths for attention of boys/men. Pick me and choose me. Yeah, so if you do defend men, you run the risk of being called that, which is not a nice thing to be called. I tend to ignore insults like that because they're pretty much a dime a dozen, and I know the truth about myself, so it doesn't really affect me, but slang words often make no sense. I find them really interesting because they're very much like reading graffiti, because you're really getting a sense of how people are really feeling, which is a lot of fun. Fast Fact Friday Freak Shack. Thanks, Andy. That's a great name. I like that. Do these things through minds where at least you don't feed YouTube, like 20 or 30% of the money? Yeah, that might be a good idea. I saw that Rumble is now doing live streams. I would like to grow my channel a little bit more before we go over to Rumble. I'm really glad that you guys are all subscribed, and I'm really grateful that you guys all like to tune in and listen to me talk to myself. New studio, new set, new mobile studio, new Andy Space set, lots of things in the works. Yeah, it's really exciting. All right, you guys. I think I'm gonna... Oh, that lamp cord in the background is killing me this whole episode. Why you move the set around? I didn't. It's been like that this whole time. I refer you to my other videos. I notice it too. It is kind of annoying. In fact, I might actually unplug it because I don't actually usually use it as a lamp. It's just kind of like a placeholder for framing my thumbnail usually. Anyway, I digress. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you have a great weekend. Andy and I are going to get a lot of stuff done. We're probably not going to be live streaming. We're probably going to be working hard. So you guys can all tune in on Monday. And until then,